Hi, I'm Jennifer Ruelens, landlord, educator, and advocate, and broker of One Focus Property Management. I'm here today to talk about my 6 principles of negotiation for rental property owners. These are principles you can use in the management of your rental business, but also in the selling and buying and making deals and acquiring deals. So stay tuned. I'm going to give you those 6 top tips. And don't forget, we put these videos out every week on our YouTube channel. I hope you'll follow us there so you don't miss out. My first tip in negotiating for rental property owners is to trust but verify. So it's great when you're working with another party and you can start to develop that trust and rapport. But here's the thing you've got to remember. If you're extending yourself, if you're experiencing any risk to continue this negotiation and there's a fact that you're trusting, consider finding a way to verify it. So when we look to rent to tenants, we trust but verify what those rental applications say. I do believe that those applicants are being completely truthful, but I verify all those pertinent facts like rental history and income and credit history to make sure we're making the right decision. When you're making these agreements, I really encourage you to verify any facts that really expose you to risk. My second rental tip: look at all the levers. What are levers? Levers are just different components of the deal. So a deal is not always, I give you this in exchange for this money. There's all different aspects of that deal that can be negotiated. So for instance, on a rental property that we're offering for lease, those levers might be, are we going to include utilities? How long is the lease we're offering? Under what terms? What security deposits required? Are there pets allowed? Do any amenities and services come along with the rental? So you can see how there's a lot of different things you can move and pull. You don't just have to lower or increase rent. That's not the only way to negotiate a deal. Same thing's true when you're buying or selling a property. Lots of levers to pull. So it's important to be creative and think about things beyond just price. My third tip for negotiating: always put these agreements in writing. It's super important that your leases, your sales agreements, your agreements with contractors and vendors, all of these be in writing. And I mean every time you change that agreement. So maybe you leased a property to somebody under certain terms, and after a period of time you've agreed to change the rent, change the services you're offering. Make sure those things are documented in writing. It does 2 things. One, it protects you from the eventual risk that maybe this deal falls apart and you need to prove your standing. But what it also does is lets the other party know, I mean this and I'm being willing to be held accountable to this. And I expect you to too. I think it gives you a higher degree of confidence, and I think that it really makes people more willing and able to fulfill on what they've committed to. So always in writing. Okay, my 4th negotiation tip: be reasonable. What do I mean? I mean, we all want our agreements to stick. And I find that sometimes inexperienced rental property owners or just inexperienced business people will put things into these written agreements that actually aren't enforceable. So that's where a good legal consultation will help you. Good legal counsel will make sure that you don't have things in your agreements that won't be enforced in court. Because if it's not enforceable in court, why have it in writing? And we've always talked about having it in writing. You heard my previous tip. So again, we're going to be reasonable, we're going to be kind, we're going to be fair, and we're going to make sure that the things that we require are legally enforceable. So be reasonable. My 5th tip for negotiating: don't give without getting. What do I mean? I mean, in a negotiation, it's common. Each side's going to need something and have to give up something in order to reach a resolution. So when the other party asks for something, your response really should be yes, and let me see how I can accommodate that. And that's, again, where we go back to all those levers we identified. What are the different levers we can pull in that deal? Well, when somebody wants something, we can pull those levers and try to accommodate it. So I like to say, for instance, maybe a tenant requests something. They request a change to their lease that really makes them happier or makes their life easier. Great, but you, the landlord, should get something in return for that. And that's not always a rent increase. Sometimes it's changing the timing of the dates. Sometimes it's changing the way that the tenant fulfills their obligations to you. Get creative, but certainly don't give up anything without getting something. My sixth tip for negotiation for rental property owners is this, and you've heard it from other people talking about negotiation, and that's identify your BATNA, your BATNA, best alternative to a negotiated agreement. I often call this, or else what? If we don't work out what we're aiming to work out, this purchase or this lease or this service agreement, what's your best alternative to a negotiated agreement and what's mine? Or else what? If this doesn't work out, what's going to happen? And this is really valuable for you to do because it really helps you align where the value and your options are and look at outcomes and not get so wrapped up in the negotiation. This is something you have to practice. You have to be very careful and slow about, but good experts who work with you will always be helping you see that BATNA or else what, and helping advise you through the negotiation process based on those risks. So those are my 6 negotiation tips for rental property owners. I hope you enjoyed it. And again, we put this content out every week on Facebook and YouTube. But if you subscribe on YouTube, you won't miss a thing. Until next time.